All right, everybody. How many of you got some good information so far? Good. All right, we're going to dive right into this. I do give honor to my leaders, to the Shaws. Let's give it up for them. Come on. This has been absolutely amazing. And so in the church world, I'm known as pastor to some coach. But in the coaching world, in the business world, to small businesses, to entrepreneurs, I am known as the execution coach. My gifting is administration and execution, which I find is one of the biggest struggles in life, not just church. I'm going to tell you why. All right? Say this with me. How you do one thing is how you do all things. Okay? If you are a mess at home, you will be a mess at church. Okay? If you don't know how to steward your finances at home well, you will not steward the finances in the church well. If you're not organized at home, you will not be organized in church. Okay? So every extension of who you are and the places that you go and the spaces that you navigate, if you don't change you, everything around you still remains the same. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking to one of the young ladies that goes to my church, and she said, Pastor, I am experiencing some spiritual warfare. I said, well, tell me about this spiritual warfare that you are experiencing. And she said, well, you know, my kids, they're not listening. Things are all over the place. When I get to work, things are happening. And I said, let's stop right there. Okay? You don't have a spiritual warfare problem. You have a discipline problem. And because your home is not disciplined, every area of your life is not disciplined, right? So I say to you as leaders, church leaders, that poor planning is not spiritual warfare. So oftentimes our events don't go well, our church is not functioning, you know, our homes are all over the place, and we're like, God, what is happening? You know, let me pray this away. And like Pastor, he said earlier, that you have to tend to your own garden. All right? So today we're going to talk about systems. All right? Who knows what a system is? Because I got to wake y'all up, so y'all going to participate. What is a system? Oh, okay. You didn't want to talk. All right? Go ahead. It is a standard way of doing things, all right? A system is a repeatable process that helps people to execute with clarity, consistency, and accountability, all right? A system turns good intentions into clear action. We got a lot of good intentions that we want to do, right? We want our church to grow. We want our people to grow. But if there aren't any steps in place that say how they will get there, they will still remain the same. All right? So a system turns our good intentions into clear actions. It takes vision out of conversation and into execution. One thing I know is that we talk a lot about a lot, but we don't activate on a lot. Let me ask you guys this question. For some of you that have been in all the sessions that you were in today, raise your hand if you heard some of the things that you learned today. Raise your hand. If there were some of the things that you already knew, what they talked about today, there were some things that you already knew. Raise your hand. Okay, some of them. Now, for the things that you know about already, have you put those things into practice? Because what I find is that we get high off of information. We go to a lot of classes. We got a lot of courses. We got a lot of things that we go to. However, when we leave there, we don't execute on the information that we get. And so the point of this session now, because, you know, we're just not going to talk about it. We're going to create actionable steps that going to shift us, because I don't want us just to get all this information and then we go home and we do nothing with it. All right? The reason why I said how you do one thing is how you do all things is because even as we're talking about things that are happening in the church and systems, there are some of you where your homes need systems. Some of you cannot function correctly in the church and really operate. I hear a lot about like the church and home balance, right? Sometimes you don't have a good church and home balance because you don't have systems at home. You don't meal prep. Your laundry's all over the place. You don't get up in enough time so that you can start your day. Everything is always rushed. So we're exhausted. Our children are all over the place. Your children do not have a bedtime. You don't know how to say no. Your grandkids run your life. So because we don't have systems and things in place, okay, you guys can only come over on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I have to stick to these days because it's interfering with my ability to be able to perform my assignment. All right? A system answers these questions. Who owns it? What needs to happen? When does it happen? And some of these notes are also in there. How does it happen? And I'll repeat them if I need to. What happens next? So the first one is who owns it? What needs to happen? When does it happen? How does it happen? What happens next? And the last one is, how do we know that it worked? All right? A system turns confusion into clarity and vision into execution. All right? A system turns confusion into clarity and vision into execution. All right, so let's talk about why do we need systems. I'm going to take you guys to the word because I believe everything we need can be found in the word. In Exodus chapter 18, starting at the 17th verse, Moses, his father-in-law, Jethro, has a conversation with him. All right? And in Exodus 18 is one of the clearest pictures of why systems matter in ministry. Moses was anointed, called, and chosen, but in that moment, he was overwhelmed. So Jethro did not question his calling, he questioned his structure. Go back and read from verses 17 through 27. He begins to give him instructions. Okay, I didn't really give y'all the title, but if you go to my page, you'll see it. And the title is Systems Save the Servant. This is a training that I do. Systems Save the Servant. All right? So, good leaders can still have unhealthy systems, right? Moses was doing a good work, but the way that he was doing it was not sustainable. All right? So these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Is doing this going to be sustainable? Overload is not always a sign of faithfulness. Sometimes overload is a sign that structure is missing. All right? Delegation is biblical. Jethro told Moses, teach the people, anoint capable leaders, and let them carry the responsibility. Systems protect the leader and serve the people better. People were waiting all day, and Moses was wearing himself out. But the system helped both the leader and the people. And so this is why Bishop said, he said that we all had to be in here because oftentimes we allow the weight of the build to be on the shoulders of the senior leader. But then I'm going to talk about it too. Because sometimes the problem is not the people don't want to help. It's the fact that the senior leaders, you don't let them help. Okay? The right structure creates sustainable execution. Moses could focus on what he could do while he trained the leaders to handle what they were assigned to carry. All right? So the responsibility is not just on the people to be receptive. The responsibility lands on the shoulders of the leader. A lot of us, this is not, even though you're a senior leader, you've been in other churches, been a part of other churches, and you've been in places where they expected something from you but never articulated what they wanted. And so we have built the culture around that just do as you see me do, not let me teach you what you're supposed to do. All right? So there's an execution gap. The execution gap is the space between what we were going to do and what actually gets done. All right? The vision is clear, but the next step is not. All right? So a lot of times we are vision casting, which is great and wonderful. And I love the fact that we're going to give the people the vision, but you have to tell them, what do you do after they're getting it? And what part do you play? Because everybody has a role. All right? The pastor has a burden, but the team does not have the process. Right? People are willing, but they are not trained. This is a big one. Events happen, but follow-up does not. We have these great, big, grand events, and we got hundreds of people, but how do you talk to the people after they leave? Or are you talking to the people? Meetings happen, but ownership is unclear. When you have a meeting, it should always be clear who owns this responsibility. And not only who owns it, when is it your job to come back and tell me what you've done? Announcements are made, but communication is inconsistent. Ideas are exciting, right? We all are like, yes, we're going to do all these things. And, oh, yes, Pastor, but there is no timeline. When someone comes in my presence and they're like, oh, yeah, because, I plan on launching this. I said, well, what day you going to launch it by? Oh, well, I really don't know. I said, well, if there's not a date to it, it ain't going to happen. All right? So let's get into your notebooks because like I told y'all, we're going to execute. And so we go to page 1. There is something that I came up with, and it's the system framework. All right? So this framework is not just about getting organized. It is about moving from conversation to implementation. All right? We are using systems to close execution gaps. So the first letter we have is S. All right? See the gap. Identify what is breaking, what is leaking, what is missing, and what is causing repeated frustration. All right? The first step to building a system is telling the truth about what is breaking. Can someone just be really transparent and tell me what is currently breaking right now? Anybody? What is breaking, what is leaking, what is missing? Yep, or whatever, in whatever you're building, either one is fine. Media, all right? So we see that media is something that's, is it breaking, leaking, missing? What is the leaking? All right, so leaking, we have media. Did you have one? Consistency, all right. So before we execute better, we have to identify what is interrupting our execution. All right, sometimes some execution gaps are really communication gaps, and some execution gaps are ownership gaps. Some execution gaps are training gaps, and some execution gaps are follow-up. So when we look at media, right, what is the gap between in media? What would be the execution gap? Okay, so qualified people, so more training, all right? So training would be the execution gap, bringing someone in that's possibly qualified. If I can't hire someone, then I need to train who I have in place or train someone in my church that has the ability to do it, okay? All right, we have another one. We said consistency. What is the execution gap in consistency? Yeah, that's missing. But what is, so as we acknowledge with media, it was more so training. What is keeping you from being consistent? A character problem? All right, are you a procrastinator? Sometimes, what's some of the other ones? Procrastination. Because sometimes, too, I'm going to be honest, it's not even always a physical thing. Sometimes it is what we talked about in our session. It could be a mental thing. right? So why am I not? Because because this is what I tell my people. If something is not natural for you to do, then you have to create systems that keep you consistent. So if consistency is a problem for you, is it I don't know how to say no? Do I have a time management issue? So when you find out what is the thing that is keeping you from being consistent, now you have to build a system around that. So if I have an issue with my level of procrastination, that means I need accountability. If I have time management issues, then I need to have a calendar. I need to put alarms in my calendar. Like, these are the things I need to put in place that's going to keep me consistent. Does that make sense? All right. We're going to move. All right. So we're going to keep going because we just don't stop. So the first thing we have to do is we have to see the gap. So media is one. If you guys look on your worksheet, there are so many different things I spelled out, whether it's communication, guest follow-up. You don't have to say what it is. New members, volunteers, events, pastoral care, outreach, finance, youth ministry, leadership development. So we have to look at what is currently not working. Okay? And I'm not saying we're going to pick a lot of things. We're going to pick one thing that is not working. All right? And then what keeps happening over and over. Okay? So we have to acknowledge what is the thing that keeps happening over and over. So guest follow-up. Visitors are coming, but no one is connecting with them after service. Okay? Volunteer gap. People want to serve, but they do not know what are their expectations. Event planning gap. Events are happening, but the team is always stressed at the week of the event. Now, I'm going to be honest. Because I'm an executor, it's what I do. I'm going to be honest. Now, there's a lot of things that's not my gifting, but that's that. So when it comes down to events, I can tell y'all one thing. I ain't never stressed. Ever. I'm going to be honest. Never. They go so smooth. My people have a runner show weeks before the event even takes place. They know where they're supposed to be, where they're supposed to show up, who's in charge of what. And let me tell y'all one thing as a leader I don't do is I don't get in their lane. That's not my job. Let me tell y'all and I'm so grateful. I'm telling y'all, this is nobody but God. But I pastor a church in another state. Okay? So I live in Savannah. My church is in Maryland. All right? We launched a ministry in 2 weeks. Let me tell you how. Because I was not building for where we was. I was building for what God showed me. So I already had systems in place. Even though we were a small online ministry, I already had follow-up in place. I already had texting, emailing. Before we even launched this ministry online, for 2 years, I was consistent. Every Tuesday, every Friday, for 2 years. I probably missed a handful of 5. When I went back to YouTube, we had 205 videos. We stayed consistent. I sent out a newsletter every single month for 2 years. And I still do it. It was something that was already in place. When someone reaches out, when someone joined our email list, I immediately followed up with them. So when it came time to launch this ministry, in 2 weeks, it wasn't a whole lot besides the Secretary of State stuff that I had to do because the systems were already in place. So for those of you that are leaders, don't wait until you get so big to start implementing systems, text messaging, to making sure you're communicating with your clients, with your members, because the more you communicate with them, guess what? And they like it, they're going to invite other people. All right? The pastoral gap. People are sick, grieving, and absent, but the church does not know until weeks later. Another pastoral gap is that you do everything. I was talking to a pastor a couple months ago, and his spouse got sick. She did everything, I'm going to tell you, down to contacting who mows the lawn. Ask me how long they've been in ministry. 20 years. Why are you still contacting who mows the lawn? And you got a church full of people. no systems, but not just no systems, you don't want to let it go. You think you're the only one that can call the lawn person to mow the lawn? She was the one that sent out text reminders. When she was sick, who sent out the reminders? The people said, oh man, look at everything that you do. They couldn't keep up. People started falling through the cracks. Bills not getting paid because she handles all of it. So sometimes it's the pastors. You have to let people mess up. You got to let them learn. You cannot, the worst thing you can do is wait until you're on your deathbed and now you want to try to give instructions. Who knows what you know? It's in your head. But you haven't written it down on paper. Every single auxiliary of my church got SOPs. All of them. Because you know what? If you're not here, I need to be able to hand this to somebody and say, hey, listen, hey, you in charge of media today. Turn this stuff on. Okay. You in charge of hospitality today. And they should be able to read, what does it take? What do we do? How do we greet the people? When you greet them, then what? When you get the card, then what? What is the follow-up? Who calls them? How often do you call them? How often do you email them? All right, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's where we at. All right, finance gap. Money is coming in, but leaders do not have a clear process of budget, spending, approval, and reporting. This is big. One of the biggest issues is finances. But guess what? It ain't just in the church, it's at home. Majority of us in the church, the church doesn't really have a budget, but at home we don't either. It's a financial gap. And here's the thing, you can't tell. I always ask my clients when they come to me, I said, tell me how much it costs for what you're trying to do. If you can't tell me how much it costs, you're not ready. I was working, and even here's the thing, nonprofits think because you nonprofit, you don't need a budget. As a nonprofit, you still need a budget. If not more, you need a budget. Because they're going to be watching every single thing that you do with that money. I said, we are so passionate, but we're unprepared. Oh, we going after God, but we don't have no budget. So I was working with a nonprofit one time, and she was working with the homeless. And we got it down to the penny. It was $5.94 that it took to serve every homeless person. I said, now take that money, now take that number to the government officials and say, hey, listen, I got 100 homeless people I'm serving, and it cost me $5.94 per every homeless person that I serve. They're more apt to help you. But y'all come out with these things and like, can you just give to us? And they're like, what we giving to? You want, every church is, I want funding. What you want funding for? Because you don't have anything in place. You don't have any programs in place. You just want the money in the bank. All right, the next one is why. Yield to structure. Stop relying on memory, personality, and last-minute effort. All right, where are we losing time, people, peace, money, and momentum? Who needs order, ownership, and a written process? So yielding to structure means we stop relying on memory, personality, and last-minute effort to carry the ministry. Yielding to structure means we stop saying we'll figure it all out, and we start saying this needs a process. Stop calling everything spiritual warfare where there are poor systems. All right? So for the why is, where are we losing time, peace, money, and momentum? What are some things that need structure? All right, so guest follow-up structure. Let me help you. Every visitor card is entered into the database by Sunday evening. Every guest gets a text or an email by Monday and a call by Wednesday. All right, I'm giving you some real realistic things. Who in here has visitor cards? Who doesn't have visitor cards? Okay? You should, every time somebody walks through the door, you need to be capturing their information. I don't care. You do a lot of outreach. They need to scan the QR code. This also helps you. We were talking last night with the pastors. It also helps with demographics. I want to know how you got here. How did you find out about us? Do you have children? Do you not have children? So I know, what do you need? All right? So everybody that walks in the door, they need a card. Now we do QR codes. Whatever you would prefer to do, it really doesn't matter, but you need to capture the name and the information of everybody that walks in that door. And now here's the thing, don't just capture the name and you don't do nothing with it. Okay? So capture the name and then appoint someone. Hey, listen, I need you to make sure that an email or a text goes out by Monday. Within 24 hours, there should be some type of follow-up with them. Now, some people do phone calls, some people don't. It's totally up to you. But I would say by Wednesday, there needs to be a phone call. Thank you for visiting with us. Not a pressure of you having to join, but just thank you for being a part. I'm going to tell you another thing about the well. I don't wait until people are members, per se, partners, to be able to be a part of community. Okay? You will mess up if you only talk to people that are your members. Even if they're not, they're in our text message, they're in our emails. And so when we're having things, we're sending it out to them. I remember we got a list of people from like a giveaway or something, and I was emailing them and texting them every week until one girl showed up. And she said, you know what? I get these messages every single week. She said, and I chose today to show up. What we did not know was the next day her husband died. She said, but you don't understand, though, that because of what I experienced before he died is what made me come back. And she been one of the most faithful, not a partner, one of the most faithful people, and brings a boatload of people every week. So don't think because you contacted them one time and 2 times, you know that they're not going to respond. Keep emailing them. Don't spam them. But anytime you're having something, hey, listen, we just want to invite you to come out. Join us for worship today. Because the more you reach out to them, sometimes it really takes 2 and 3 touches before somebody decides whether they want to make a decision. All right? Volunteer structure. Every new volunteer completes a ministry interest form. All right? Attends orientation and receives a role description. All right? So anybody that wants to be a part of any ministry, there should be something that they fill out. Okay? I'm giving you guys some real practical things. I'm going to allow you guys to ask some questions as well. All right? There should be an orientation. Just don't let people serve if they have not been through orientation. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you this, though. Now, Bishop, if I'm wrong, you got permission. But sometimes we do too much because we want to play God with people. Okay? And you got to sit and you got to do that. And and until I have vetted you to the end, how much vetting do you got to do before we allow people to operate? They've been sitting for 2 years. They've been sitting for 1 year. So I'm not saying we just throw people up there. You try the Spirit by the Spirit, right? You got discernment. And one thing about me is I got accountability around me because I know my blind spots. So because I know my blind spots, I can kind of be a little bit too nice. So I got to make sure I ask my accountability. I'm like, hey, listen, I just had a new person come in. And she was like, I really want to, work in leadership. I said, I called my accountability. I said, this is what I told her because I'm going to be accountable to what I said. I ain't out here by myself. Not only am I covered here, but I'm covered at home too. I got an advisory board. I just don't make decisions and do things without talking to them. So I called my accountability. I said, listen, I'm telling you, I got this girl. Now, you fill her out because you know me. And I'm real nice sometimes. And that's my blind spot. So if something is off, she already knows she got permission to say, hey, listen, let's slow down with her. That ain't it. Let's bring her back. Let's put her over here. I'm like, all right, cool. All right. Because I don't know everything. Okay? Pastoral structure. Prayer requests are logged weekly and assigned to a care member for follow-up. All right? So the pastor doesn't have to do everything. If you get prayer requests in, what happens when you get the prayer requests? Do they just sit? Are we actually praying? Okay? If everything depends on one person remembering it, it's not a system, it's a strain. If everything depends on one person remembering it, it is not a system, it's a strain. All right? Structure gives the assignment somewhere to land. All right? Let's move. Simplify the steps. All right? S is simplify the steps. Systems do not have to be complicated. A good system is simple enough to repeat. Like I said, they come in the door, how do we greet them? It should be already written out. You greet them, you give them a bag. We got like a little bag. You give them a bag and a card. You go back and collect the card. After you give the card, this is who the card goes to. The card now goes into the system. We send them an email. Now listen, there are some things, and I can't talk about all of them, so those of you that need help, I can give you some systems that have automations, right? So what we do is we put our people in a system that automatically emails them. So I don't have to do it. Okay? That automatically follows up with them. So there are some things out there that kind of can take the weight off of you, the weight off of your administration, so that you don't have to do it. But there has to be something. Do not let there be a time that someone comes into your space, comes into your ministry, that you don't follow up with them. Okay? Like Lady Dan, she was saying earlier that we don't know how much that means to people. You know, that connection. That's why I said don't wait till people become partners before you decide you want to connect with them. People come back because they feel welcome. All right? So we're simplifying the steps. A lot of ministries are stuck because the vision is big, but the next step is blurry. Okay? Visions are real big, but what we're doing next is a little shaky. If the next step is unclear, hear me, execution is inconsistent. If I don't know what we're doing, people are not showing up. The Bible says this, write the vision and make it plain that he that readeth it can run with it. They can't run with what they can't read. And they can't read what hasn't been written. So a lot of times we're like, oh yes, the vision of the church. But it ain't written down, it's in your head. People don't know where you're going. And you like, just follow me, y'all. They like, but where are we following you to? Because we don't know where we're going. It should be very clear. This is the vision of the house. This is the culture of the house. Let me tell y'all, same thing in your homes. Because I don't play about mine. This is the culture of my house, and my kids already know I don't play. So do their friends. This is how we roll. Okay? This is how things operate. And if you want to come over to my house, then guess what? You have to, I don't care what you do at your house. But what we do, you know, we used to say that, you know. I don't care what they do over there, but let's talk about what we do over here. You have to take that same mentality as it pertains to the house of God. I don't care what they do over there. I just care about what we do over here. Right? Every house is different. Every vision is different. We are very wellness driven. We are very entrepreneur driven. We are very much, everything is mental health. Everything is about wellness. So the things that we do is driven. That's not every ministry. We do a lot of teaching. We don't do a lot of, I'm not a hooper, you know. Every house is different, but you have to be, and here's the thing, y'all, be okay with how your house functions. Because oftentimes in our head, I'm going to pause right here. In our minds, we get discouraged and we cancel ourselves out because our ministries don't operate like other people's ministries. If you're an outreach ministry, stay an outreach ministry. Don't feel the need to stay in the walls because that's not what God calls you. If you know you're just called to the homeless, stay with the homeless. If you know you're just called to women, stay with women. It's okay. It's enough that there's out here that if someone needs something, we'll do it. This is the problem in the business world because what you try to do is you try to fit something for everybody, and what you have been given is not for everybody. So stay in your lane. It's okay to be in your lane. I'm staying in the wellness lane, and I'll give this testimony all the time. When I first met Bishop, Bishop did not know me. And when I the day after I met him, I didn't even meet him. He prophesied to me. And the day after I launched my church, I encountered this man of God, and he said, do what God called you to do. Don't be afraid of the faces. Who cares what they think about what God has given you to do? Just do it. And it was scary because I was like, God, you're giving me to do something that's just, I don't know, this is not like normal church. It ain't. But the one thing that I have learned is I'm staying in my lane. I'm not for everybody. But for the people I am called to, they're going to get what they need. And people cannot get what they need if you don't remain who you are. I was teaching the other week, and I said this. I said, the right bait in the wrong place is not going to yield no results. Some of y'all in the wrong place with the right bait. So you got to make sure that you're in the right place with the right bait. Stop trying to be everywhere and be where you're supposed to be. All right, let me move. All right, because y'all know I get stuck. All right, so we're simplifying the steps. So when a system is created, what system needs to be created or strengthened first, all right? So I want you guys to really take this, be able to take this home and think about what I'm saying, because I want you to be very intentional about what I'm saying. So what system needs to be created? Can somebody share with me a system that needs to be created for them right now? Okay. 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 All right. So they're in the process of relaunching. So what is one of the first things that needs to happen? Anybody can answer. We are relaunching a ministry. What is it? Branding. Who said it? Research. Research is a big one. Demographics. When you are coming into a new area, when I was coming into Maryland, I'm leaving Georgia, the first thing I did was, what are the demographics? I know it's 29,000 people. I know the median income is 101,000. I know it's 29% African American and 65% white American. Okay? Majority of the people are families. So what I'm building is conducive to the demographics. Okay? What else? So we got research. What are some other steps? Branding. Anybody else? Write the vision. Strategic planning. So what I like to do, and I want you guys to kind of write this down, when you are goal setting and when you're trying to write out the steps, sometimes it's easier for you to write out everything at one time. Then go back and acknowledge what is first. Okay? Yep. So sometimes you can't remember everything. So if we got media and media we know needs to be strengthened, then we're going to write out everything that has to do with media. Then what we do is we look at that list and we put it in order. And it also allows you to see gaps and see what is missing. All right? So we're going to simplify it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. All right? So just a quick, so guest follow-up system. They complete the connection card. Step 2, the connection team enters the information by Sunday. Step 3, the guest receives a thank you text within 24 hours. Step 4, a team member calls or messages them by Wednesday. And step 5, the guest is invited to a new members class or small group or next event. Boom. That's the system. Anybody should be able to take this and run with it. Event planning. The event request is submitted. The event is approved. Roles are assigned. Graphics, registration, setup, volunteers, follow-up. The event is promoted 4 to 6 weeks. The team completes a post-event recap and follow-up. So someone comes and they say, hey, listen, I'm going to have the event. What do I need to do? You should be able to tell them, these are the steps that it's going to take for it to get done. All right? The next one is T, and I got to move. Train the team. Teach people how the system works so that they can execute with confidence. Who needs to be trained? Who needs to be informed? Who needs to be repositioned? So when I came there were some people that were already like at a previous church. We gained some people. So about 10 people. Some of them were leaders. Some were not. So what I did was for the first 3 months, I took everything. Nobody is in charge of nothing. For the first 3 months, I took over everything. I made sure the systems were in place. I was handling all the admin. I was handling all the follow-up. I was handling all the things, right? One, because I needed them to be trained properly. The biggest thing that we have to understand is even when people come to our churches and they might know church, they don't know your culture. All right? So yes, you have been in church for 10 years. Yes, I know you have preached and you prophesied and you've laid hands and you've done all the great things, right? But I need you to understand, right, what is the culture over here? Not that it says that we are territorial, but I need you to know what you're joining. I tell people, you know, we open the doors of the church every Sunday, but I be like, if you're not ready, it's okay. I'm all right. Stick around. Because I want you to know that we're well people over here. Because if you're not well, we don't. I'm not going to say that if you're not well. If you don't want to be well, this ain't going to work for you. Because everything we talk about is wellness. Everything we're going to talk about. My answers to you are always going to be like when that girl came and she said, oh, my God, Pastor, I'm in warfare. No, baby, you need to be disciplined. Okay? Be well. That's our slogan, too. We say be well in your mind, your body, and your spirit. I need you to be well. And if you don't want to be well, when you come over here, you're going to be mad because everything we talk about is wellness. If you don't want to be well in your finances, you're going to be angry because that's what we're going to talk about. So we want people to understand what is the culture around here. How do we operate? How do we speak to one another? When I do my new partners class, even in new partners class, I teach them how to leave right. I know we don't do that. We leave with integrity. If this is not the place for you, we release you, but we don't do mess. In new partners, we talk about conflict resolution. How do you conduct yourself? How do you speak to people? Who do you go to? Because I don't need you to go to the wrong ones. Amen. All right. People cannot execute what they don't understand. Okay? Have you taken the time to train your leaders? That's what we're doing right now. So even though some of them have been licensed and ordained, I told them for the next 5 months, I'm working with them, that we meet 3 times a month for the next 5 months. 1 time in person, 2 times on Zoom. Okay? I know they've already gone through a lot of, all the training, but you're going to be trained here. We're not rushing no ordination. We're not rushing no license just to give people titles. I said, I'm going to spend time with y'all. Here's the other thing. I'm training them so that my next level leadership can now train the next people. There's a curriculum. There is a schedule. Don't just throw something together and say, oh, yeah, we're just going to train y'all. No, take your time with it. And here's the other thing. If you're not equipped, go find somebody. Pastors, one of the reasons why a lot of time, I'm going to be honest, the black church cannot thrive is because we are afraid to go get what we don't know. If you're not good with finances, go find somebody. If you don't have a leadership curriculum, go find somebody that does and let them train them and pay them to do it. But we can't just, and here's the thing, how you do one thing is how you do all things. Because what we don't know, we're still afraid to go get it. You don't know about buying no house and you're trying to do it on your own instead of going to find someone that know what they talk about. So we got to train them, train your leaders. Execution cannot live in the pastor alone. We know you come in and you turn the lights on and you turn the sound on and you turn it on, but turn that into a process. Pastors, you need a SOP. Okay? I have one. It's not just for your departments, but as a leader, because see, I'm planning on building succession. I'm not going to be here all the time. So as a senior leader, how do you conduct yourself? What does a senior leader do? What is a senior leader responsible for? And they get a copy. Let me tell you why. Because if I'm not doing my job, y'all can pull me up. See, we don't like that kind of talk because we think that, as a senior leader, we the end all be all, and, God has called me to this. But God also has called us to be responsible and steward our positions well. So you think you can do whatever you want to do, and you can make decisions and be reckless and talk however you want to talk, and people are just supposed to take it. But that ain't how a senior leader is supposed to conduct themselves. So we have a lot of expectations and things that we put in place to remove people out of their place when we feel like they're not doing their job. But here's the thing. We got to have someone that checks us. Because this does not, I tell my people all the time, this don't belong to me. This ain't my brand. This belong to God. And if I'm not stewarding God's business well, y'all got permission. Go find my bishop and get me together. Because I'm putting people in harm's way. So I need something to be accountable for. All right? So T, guest team training, how to welcome guests, how to collect collection cards, again, escorting people, explaining the next steps, train them. Media, when are slides due? How to name files, how to handle live stream issues, who approves final content. You're just not going to give us nothing at the last minute. I don't care how important you think your announcement is. Don't come up here with no piece of paper and talk about, Pastor King, I cannot. If you didn't get it in before, it ain't going to get said today. And if your job is not done, we got to have a conversation. This is training people. Again, because how you do one thing is how you do all things. So you think because you late at home, you're going to come here and be late. Big one, children and youth ministry, safety protocols, check in and check out, emergency procedures, classroom expectations, parent communications. Everything needs a training on how it's going to flow. If you sick, how they going to know who's supposed to check the children in? How the children supposed to be checked in? Everything live in your phone? Everything live on your tablet? Everything live on your laptop? You the only one that can access everything? See, I took everything in the beginning, so then I said I had to build the systems. Because if I got sick today, I was doing everything. Then what was going to happen? Y'all couldn't get accounts to pay no bills. You the only name on the account. Can't nobody help? The check-in system is on your tablet, so when we trying to check the kids in, we trying to wait on you, but you late because it was a car accident. So now we trying to wait on you. Church is held up because everything that we need live in your phone. So this is what I'm saying too. Even when we're small, you got to operate like we big. And we cannot ask God for expansion if we don't have the things in place for expansion. You don't want God send the members in, but you can't steward the 10 you got well. You don't talk to them. They don't hear from you. You call them at the last minute. Oh, do you think that you can, now if it's an emergency, that's one thing. But this is the thing, I think it's one of my questions. Let me not get ahead of myself. But one of the questions is, what is the thing that keeps showing up every time? Every time you calling somebody at the last minute to ask them, listen, they already know. This is who teaching every month. They got it 3 months ahead of time. These are the topics for the month. Y'all tell me which week y'all teaching. All right? I already know for the next 3 months who teaching what. Who got what Tuesday? Let me tell you another thing. That's because I don't want to come up and you say, well, Pastor, my child got basketball. You picked this Tuesday. I ain't pick it. It eliminates the excuses. All right, financing. Who counts the money? Who makes the deposits? Who approves expenses? Who does the reporting? These are things that we should know, not just know, but people should be trained. Here's the thing. Just because somebody work at a bank don't mean they need to be on your finance committee. Pastor Hayes. I got to talk to Pastor Hayes. That's my buddy. We think because somebody work at a daycare, they really don't like kids, but it's the only job they could get, and y'all throwing them at the daycare provider. Oh, you over children's church. No, they do not need to be on children's church. Okay? They really don't like kids. Okay? Y'all putting people at the door, and that's not they genius. They mean. They not friendly. They ain't got no discernment. That's the one thing for me I can never understand is that when it comes to certain areas of the church, then the first places we want to throw people, the most important. Oh, yeah, come on. Yeah, just come on and join the usher board. No, ma'am. And no, sir. We still trying to discern your spirit. All right. So you cannot expect excellence from people you have not equipped. We have to take the time. The hardest part is because we're like, well, if I got to take the time to teach, I might as well do it myself. No, that's not the attitude we want to have. Because eventually, listen, we want to make sure that you are saved. You are burnt out and you are exhausted because you are trying to do everything. Some of you in the room need to slow down. Okay? Slow down. Maybe you don't do Bible studies on those days, and maybe you're only doing 30 minutes. Is that the only time you got them? Okay, we're going to do 30 minutes of Bible study, and we're doing 30 minutes of training. Don't be afraid to demote. And not necessarily a demotion, but don't be afraid to say, you know what, y'all, we need to take a pause. Now, I knew at church they was always taking a pause, and I was just like, okay, I don't understand why y'all didn't get it out the first pause. However, there are moments when you got to take a time and pause and say, you know what, God? Okay, we got to bring this together. Like, here's another thing. Learning how to pace yourself, okay? The biggest issue is, I know that the previous churches, y'all had 13 auxiliaries. You got 13 people. You don't need 13 auxiliaries. So right now, I told him, I said, listen, we got a women's, a men's, and we got children. They gonna get touched some type of way, okay? We ain't really got no directors because we ain't got, y'all all tied up in some other things. So we all the directors. We all gonna participate. Everybody give y'all ideas. Everybody's gonna be in charge. Pace yourself. Sometimes we feel like and then understand what is for you and what's not for you. Some of you trying to build all these auxiliaries and you got people stretched all over the place and you like, well, where are the people at? Stretched? Stop putting a bunch of stuff on the calendar and you know you don't have the people to maintain it. I would rather you have 3 big impactful events than try to have something every single month that's yielding no results. Because the goal should always be impact. All right. Evaluate often. All right? A system is not finished just because it was created. A system has to be reviewed. Here's the other thing, leaders. You have to make sure you are in tune with your leaders. All right? I need all of you that have leaders. I want you to go and have a conversation with all your leaders over the next couple of weeks. And I want you to ask them these questions. What's working and what's not working? Because, see, when you're not in it, you don't know what's functioning and what's not functioning. So you don't greet people at the door. You got systems in place, but what if those systems are not working? Quarterly, you should be having conversations. I was telling them that the other week. I said, I don't work at the door. I've told you these are the things, but if something is not working, I need y'all to tell me so that we can create a better system. Constantly being willing. I say this, you have to be disciplined enough to stick to the plan. Okay? But you have to be flexible enough to know when it's time to pivot. You got to be flexible enough to say, you know what, this is not working. We got to change it up. If your Sunday morning service is not working, don't be afraid to change it. You know what? Maybe like for us, we're a little bit different because they sing their little 2 songs and I get straight up. Afterwards, we do altar call. We take up the offering. We do announcements and we go home. Other ministries, they different. You know, it's a lot of up and down and up and down. Whatever you choose to do is whatever you choose to do. But I also told them that we're still trying to work through our flow because we knew. So I said, listen, I even tell the people on Sunday mornings, don't be afraid to talk to your people. I don't care nothing about that live. Hey, y'all, we just trying this out. We just trying to see what's working. We openly, hey, listen, feedback. We love it. How can we serve you better? Survey your church. Ask them what's working, what's not working. What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? Stop having events your people don't need. Survey them. Where are you struggling? So that I can make sure that I'm building things that you need. All right? Evaluation execution requires evaluation. We don't just ask. We do not just ask, did we do it well? We ask, did it work? All right. We cannot improve what we refuse to review. So after you have something, it should always be an after action meeting. What did we do well? What went wrong? Let me give y'all this quick system, and then we're going to move to M because I'm done, and y'all going to ask questions. Those of you that have events, right, a lot of times, and I'm not opposed to this because I've seen people do it, but a lot of times we utilize Cash App as our form of payment, right? But let me ask you this question. If we take Cash App and we ask them just to put their name in the note, how do we follow up with them? Then if you had 100 people and you have another event next year, but how do you talk to the people from the year before? So there should be something in place that is constantly allowing you to communicate with the people that you are serving. Okay, M is the last one. It is maintain consistency. All right, every system needs ownership, accountability, and rhythm. Every system needs ownership, accountability, and rhythm. All right, so who owns this system? Who supports this team? How often will this system be used or updated? And what is the first execution step? All right, this is the one that we struggle with a lot of times, and that is our consistency. But a lot of times we're not consistent, honestly, because we don't have a system. A lot of what you're experiencing in your level of consistency is going to shift when you get a system. It will. All right, anybody have any questions? I done said a lot. I tried to get through it. But anybody have any questions? Anything specific, any certain type of system you're looking for? Is there a system that you need that I can help walk you through? All right, a couple resources that you guys can use is Text in Church. All right, if you need the link, see me, I can send it to you. There are a lot of different text apps out there, all right, and I can send you guys some, but Text in Church is pretty reasonable. It's a CRM system too. It allows you to capture emails. It allows you to phone number. It's like $29 a month. You get unlimited emails. You get 500 texts per month. It gives you the ability to say you're in church and you say, hey, listen, everybody, text volunteer. And it can automatically, when they text it, send them a volunteer form they can fill out. Okay, now you got the information, you can talk to them. As far as websites, they have different church websites that you can use. Wix is one that I like. It's pretty low maintenance to kind of keep up with. Wix also gives you the ability to have like events. So like when people go to our page, they can automatically see events. They can sign up for events. They can register for events. There's another one called, and I'm not a fan, but if you got the funds to do it, they have the church planner app. To me, it's a little, but if you have the finances and the means to be able to, nope, not Nucleus. It's, yes, Planning Center. Yeah. I like it, but I'm just waiting. I'm working my way up, pacing myself, you know what I'm saying? It is a little pricey. I'm telling y'all, listen, one thing about me, anybody, let me tell y'all, even if you're not a church and you're just home or whatever, one thing I have learned how to do is I work by myself for so long that I know the systems that you need that don't cost a lot of money. Right? Like I've done the research that I know. I don't use Wix email because it costs too much. So I use Text in Church. So Wix emails only give you like 5,000 emails. Remember I told y'all we email. Now listen, we talk to our people all the time. So they get a monthly newsletter and they get a weekly email every single week and a weekly text every single week that says what's going on in the church. So they'll never not know what's happening. Okay, so that's a lot of emails. So I was using the Wix up, so it was like $56 every month. I was like, oh no. So I started using Text in Church. Now I got unlimited emails. Not only do I have unlimited emails, but I group my people. So like I can email my leaders, I can email my members. So everybody isn't grouped. I have people that are first-time visitors. Sometimes I only talk to them. I don't talk to the whole church. You know, so there are different things that you can put in place that will help make your life easier. All right? Anybody else have any other questions? Even if it's about church, life, systems, just period. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Right. So I think you're kind of, so there's two kind of questions in there. So one thing I will say is scaling is like as you grow, realizing what you need to release. Okay? So in the very beginning, you have all the tasks that you know you need to do. Whatever is the most important is what you focus on. You also see what I can outsource and what can I do myself. All right? So for those of us who are working with smaller budgets, you have to realize, first, assess your house. Because sometimes we got people that are capable in our house of doing things that just need to be trained. So assess what you already have and then outsource what you don't know. All right? Then the other part is, so when it comes to vision and all those kind of things, one, you do have to assess the region that you're going into. The other aspect is sometimes the vision will stay the same, but the mission will change, right? So the vision says why I do it. My mission says how I do it. So my vision, my different region, the Lord has given me something, right? And this is why I do it, and I can see the bigger picture, but the how I do it may change. And that may change based off of your region. So what God has called you to do is still what he called you to do because he sent you here. But what may be shifting is the how. That based off of the region and how people receive and how they tend to operate, that may change how it looks and how you walk that out. Yes. Yeah. Prioritizing, writing out what you need to do and doing what you need to do first. There are some, because this is the problem. As creatives, we can do so much. And the problem is oftentimes because we can do so much, we try to do everything at one time. God may show you something, but there's levels to this, right? So God may show you the big picture, but then you also have to understand that he's not asking me to do the big picture in one day. Let me work on this one component of what God is asking me to do. So just focus on that one thing. Like, okay, I can see where we're going, but sometimes in our mind, we got to say, you know what? This is what we're doing right now. Right now, this is the only thing we're doing. We're not focusing on nothing else. This is the primary focus. Okay? Any other questions? All right, I pray I said something. Bless y'all. Let me get out y'all way. I love